welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Sherry, a financial coach.
I'm Val, a financial planner, and today we are talking about goal setting specifically for ADHD humans like ourselves, and we're going to use an example goal. So Sherry, what is our example goal?
We are going to talk about paying off debt and how to create that and have it as a goal that you actually don't give up in the first 2 weeks.
Yes. So we want to start with talking about setting goals. We've already picked a hypothetical goal, but in general, when it comes to setting goals, what are some tips that you have and experiences that you have for yourself?
The first big one is understanding why the goal is important to you. So when you're thinking about goals that are financial or otherwise like health related, maybe think about why it's important to you, and then think about what impact that goal is going to have on your life. So when you talk about a goal to pay off debt, it is going to have a big impact on your life when you are able to reduce and eliminate your debt payments and save on interest. Like that's the black and white financial part of it. But then there's also the emotional part of it where you are going to feel less financial stress, that sense of accomplishment, being able to feel like you're winning with your money and you can do so many other things that are possible. So really getting to the root of like, what's the impact? When I hit this goal, what's that life going to feel like when I'm there?
I would echo that. I think it's that piece of what does this create for me? So that visualization exercise of seeing yourself once this goal is accomplished, what does it feel like? What do you see? How do you act? And that helps to put fuel into the tank of driving this goal forward. What are some other pieces, Sherry, that you find when it comes to setting the goal that helps for us ADHD folk?
This isn't necessarily just for ADHD folk. It's for but we have to have a specific goal. We can't say, well, I want to make extra payments on my debt. Well, that is great. If you make $1 extra, you've technically achieved that goal. So you have to get really specific on how much extra do you want to put towards debt? When do you want to have that debt paid off? There's a lot of different ways you can be specific with a goal around debt payoff. So it can be, I'm going to put an extra $200 a month on this debt. I am going to be debt free by this date, which then requires a little math, which I think is fun to figure out, which I'm going to look for a tool and check at the show notes because debt payoff calculators can be very motivating. So, and then you want to break that goal. You've got that specific goal. You want to break it down into really small steps. So if you have $10,000 worth of credit card debt you want to pay off, and it's going to take you, you've crunched the numbers, it's going to take you 18 months. Don't just have that one goal, like 10,000 paid off in 18 months. Because that is a long road. You need to have small pieces. So think about each month, each week, each pay. What is success for that shorter period of time? Because then you can track it and you can be motivated that you're on target towards your goal. But also on the flip side too, you can see like, ooh, crap. Like this month I had these things come up and I got off track. So now I need to reevaluate, am I pushing the date out further or am I going to find ways to hunker down and pay extra the next 2-3 months to stay on track?
I would also echo with that when it comes to that longer term goal of 18 months, then having a kind of like a reward system at some point in there. I remember going to a presentation and I didn't fully agree with it. It was using all-in-ones, which is like a giant line of credit as your mortgage. Conversation for a different time.
But the universe, that came up with a conversation with Jason and I this week because our mortgage is coming up for renewal. Anyways, we'll table that discussion. Maybe we'll have a mortgage pro on here and talk about that.
That would be perfect. And for people like you, it would probably work. But anyways, tabling it. So they, in the presentation, they're like, yeah, once you reach that certain debt number, take the trip, get going. You worked so hard for that. The principle, yes, the size of the reward, I'm probably going to lean towards the no on that one. They're like, yeah, spend the 10 grand, go on the trip. I'm like, well, that's how they these tools, they want us to use them, right? But building in little rewards. It might be something like going to buy a $4 plant because you achieve that. Like, it doesn't have to be large and then work really, like, kind of just go right against the goal that we're trying to achieve. Something small, something that brings you joy. It could be a cup of coffee with a friend, going on a date. Like, assigning different rewards at different points, I think, is also very motivating.
Thinking too about rewards is the rewards don't always have to be financial. So maybe the reward is like you adjust your schedule if you're an entrepreneur. And yes, there may be some financial impact there. So like you have half a day that you can just chill and do whatever you want. Think about a reward, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be financial. And kind of gearing the level of award to the step of achievement. So going on a 10 grand trip, if you've paid off $10,000 worth of debt and then you get back in $10,000 worth of debt, like let's not do that.
Yes. Making it visual too is very helpful. So I guess we're kind of now into the how to stay on track. So to our example of paying off debt, if you have, stick a piece of paper to your fridge and put your balance at the end of every month or at the end of every quarter, whenever it feels like, whatever you set for yourself. But what I have found helpful is if you're doing it at the end of every month, put on there, March 31st, April 30th. I have to sing that song about the months to remember which one has 30 and 31, but you understand what I mean.
It's not just me.
No, every time. So put those in there. So then there's a blank spot to fill in.
Yep. And you can also get, if your goal is to pay off credit card debt, you can go online. And if you Google debt payoff tracker credit card, you can find a lot of examples where it's kind of like those charts you see when there's nonprofits fundraising, where you're coloring in to track where you are. And you can do that too. Like you can have it for a car, a house, whatever you want, either for paying off debt or for savings goals and stuff like that, where you're coloring it in so you actually see visually. And I love when people do that when they use a different color for a different period of time. So if you're going month by month, if you use a different color for each month, you can see, okay, March, we have a little sliver here. And then April, maybe we've got a bigger chunk. It's okay. Then you can not only see that, but think about, okay, what happened in March and what happened in April, and how can we try and duplicate April? What are those things that happened, and how can we whack at that debt a lot faster to get it to say sayonara? Okay, another thing that you can do to help you focus on achieving the goal is to set reminders and alarms for important deadlines. So if you want to track your debt balance every single month, put a reminder in your phone that pops up that prompts you to go right now and check your debt balance and write it down and record it, because it's time to do that. And the other thing too, we've talked about this before, but when your goal is to pay off debt, have systems in place so that you are not adding to the debt. So if it's a credit card, either stop using it and then you're only paying it down, or only use it if you have the funds to pay it off, and then make your payments, but also pay off any new purchases that have gone on it, so that you're not, it's like those two things are competing against one another. So you're not fighting an uphill battle the whole path, because if you want to pay off this debt in 18 months and you continue to use it, it's going to get really murky for you tracking your goals and tracking how far you've come. So find a way to stop using it, or to make sure that anything new is paid off right away. Ideally, it's less headache if you stop using it. For ADHD individuals, tracking and organizing stuff can be hard. So give it to somebody you trust, cut it up, hide it in somewhere
lowering
important.
The limit, right? Like lowering the limit to be something that's like very manageable. If you do rack it up, very helpful.
And I have seen before people lower their limit to what their balance is today, and they're like, I'm done. So if my balance is 10 grand and you have a limit of 15, you call the credit card company, I want my balance lowered, I want it to be 10 grand, and then you can't use it. And then you can call and continue to have it lowered if you're going to be tempted to use it. And yes, that will impact your credit score, because then you'll be at 100% utilization. But my guess is if you've got a big goal to pay off debt, you're not going to be in the market to get a new loan anytime soon.
Right.
So, and then as you pay down your debt and maybe you call and have the limit increased again, that works out on your credit score and it increases as you reduce that utilization rate. So it's something to think about, but just think about what barriers do you need? Do you need soft barriers where you just don't take the credit card with you? Or do you need hard barriers where your friend or your spouse or partner is holding onto the credit card with strict rules around when they can give it back to you? So you have to do things that are going to set you up for success. And that is often, for ADHDers, a brick wall. We run into it and we need our heads smacked to be able to be like, oh no shit, goal of pay off debt. Put down the credit card, which also means delete it from your Amazon cart, delete it from anywhere you need to know, which if you've got it lots of places and the thought of removing your credit card from all of those places feels overwhelming, call your credit card company and tell them you lost your card and they will immediately deactivate that information on your card. They will send you a new one, but then anywhere it's saved, it's not going to work.
Right. It's not attached to that. Yes. So those are great ways, and especially pertaining to this goal of setting those boundaries, helping us be successful. Just saying the goal is not enough for us. And for a lot of people, it's not.
You've got to make it really visual. And then, and then you have to find ways, what else do I need to be successful? And having somebody that you're reporting your progress to, making it visual so the whole household can see it. Maybe you and a friend are both. Yeah, if you and a friend are both working towards paying off debt, maybe once a week you just, if you're close by, you go for a walk and you talk about it, or you have a phone call, or you just have that check-in. But it has to be there has to be that environment where you're set up for success. And one of the big ones too is, I know for me, it's we're either going to do something and it's going to fall short and not get done, or we're going to put pressure on ourselves to do it perfectly. And leaning into that progress over perfection, because if you're like, well, I can't do it in 18 months, it's going to take me 2 years, I might as well not do it, then you're going to hit that 2-year mark and still not be done. So think about I should have mentioned this at the start when we talked about setting goals. Squirrel. When you're setting goals, yes, we want you to be specific, but I also love having different levels of goal achievement. So if you crunch your numbers and you think, yes, I can pay this debt off in 18 months I just have to be consistent. I don't have to go nose to the grindstone. Maybe that's your good goal. And I like good, better, best goals. You can add another shit level goal, and the idea behind that is it can motivate us to keep going. So if you're like, oh yeah, I'm a year in and I'm 90% of the way to my goal of paying off my debt in 18 months, you'd be like, I'm just going to let off the gas because I'm easily going to hit that goal. But then if you have higher levels of goal, maybe your better goal is 16 months. And then it's 14, 12, maybe you've just got shorter time periods for those goals. And then you make, get out of my way. We're 11 and a half months in and I'm so close to paying off that debt. And my holy shit goal is paid off in a year. So I'm going to figure out how to do it. And you're going through your house and you're cleaning out things, putting them on Facebook Marketplace. You get really resourceful when there's those I'm going to have this best goal and I'm going to attack it. So different levels of goals can be really helpful to keep us motivated because we can often lose that motivation.
Yes, I would completely agree. And we use that strategy with retirement planning as well. What's your good, better, best income that you want in retirement? Here's what you have to do to achieve it. And it becomes very, very motivating. So the accountability, setting those parameters around what's good, better, best. Anything else that you would add to this, Sherry, when it comes to setting goals, sticking to goals, anything that comes to mind that we haven't talked about?
Oh yeah, there's a couple. Don't be afraid to adjust. If you have this goal of, I want to pay off my debt in 18 months, and to do that, I am going to be super thrifty and I am going to do a no spend year and I'm going to not buy new clothes and I'm going to only cook at home. And then you start to feel that I can't do this for 18 months.
Yes.
That pivot doesn't have to be, I'm not going to do it. That pivot can then be like, okay, how do I get more money coming in so that I can not live never being able to have any fun for 18 months till my debt's paid off? And then maybe it's that balance. It's like, I'm going to cut back a little bit, but I'm going to try and bring in an extra couple $100 a month or more to figure out that balance. And then be kind to yourself. Shit's going to go wrong. You might not hit your goal. You might not even hit that easiest goal. And that's okay. Paying off a chunk of debt is hard. Any goal you're trying to set is hard. And by being kind to yourself, it can help you practice not giving up. Because if we start beating ourselves up, we throw our hands up and we just give up and then we stop. And for me, I know we're always hardest on ourselves. So when I think when I pay attention to my self-talk, when something hasn't gone right, I try and catch myself and think about, what would I say if a close friend, someone I loved and cared about, came to me and said, Sherry, this happened. This is going on. I didn't do this. I didn't achieve this. I'm not going to say, well, you suck. You should probably stop that. Change your life. Don't keep trying to do that. No, I'm going to be kind. So can we talk to ourselves like we would talk to somebody that we love? Because we spend more time talking to ourselves than to anybody else. And we are assholes to ourselves. And I just want everybody to stop that shit.
Yes. The idea of being kind in your mind and not letting, maybe not achieving that goal the way you thought it would. It's a flat tire. You need to just repair that flat tire. It doesn't mean that the whole car has to stop moving forever. Keep the goal on track. Like, refresh, reset. Don't be afraid to do those things. Just that perfectionist piece comes in. Like, just because you didn't do it the way you thought it was going to go, trust the process and be flexible without quitting.
Yeah. And sometimes pivoting can mean, yes, we're adjusting how we get to that goal, but it can also mean we are adjusting the goal. We learn about ourselves when we're trying to work towards something, and often we push ourselves too much and we set goals that are not necessarily unachievable, but they're not super realistic because we think we're superhuman sometimes. So
we're like, I need a challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to work out every day for a year and a half, or I'm going to never eat out for 60 days. You know yourself. Is that achievable? And if it's not, just make some adjustments and it's okay. Extend the goal, shorten the amount you're going to put towards savings, adjust, be kind, and that's going to really help you stay the course to achieving financial goals, but any goals you want to achieve in your life.
I would add one more thing, which is the January 1st idea, is don't try to do it all at once. Don't try to change it all at once, one thing at a time, two things at a time, but do not try to do it all.
Yes. I think those memes that I see on social media sometimes is like, the only way that I'm going to achieve my goals or the to-do list for tomorrow is that I'm going to wake up a completely different person. January 1st, Monday, the start of a new month, back to school, kind of like a second January. Know yourself. Yes, we are capable of change, but we aren't going to wake up a completely different human with different motivations and capabilities. So yeah, I love that one to think about, like, who you are and what's possible.
Well, this has been great. I want to say thanks to our listeners. We hope you got something from this.
And I always forget to say this, but if you listen and you enjoy, share us with a friend. Subscribe so you get notifications of the new podcast episodes. And we'd love if you would leave us a review, because that helps our podcast get to more people too. So thank you for listening, and we can't wait to see you next time on the Mind and Money podcast.